It's hard to believe it's been over 3 months since the St. Petersburg race was postponed and a global pandemic has shut the world down and, quite frankly, in a lot of ways, left it in darkness. But we are finally back. IndyCar will return at Texas Motor Speedway. The schedule looks a heck of a lot different, with double headers filling in the schedule from tracks that were unfortunately unable to return. St. Petersburg moves from the first race of the season to the last, and perhaps most importantly, of course, the name of the series is IndyCar. The Indianapolis 500 will now take place on August 23rd. Still, one of the big storylines going into this race is the debut of the aero screen, which now will be under even more of a microscope as the season starts on a high-speed oval for the first time since 2008. Because this is a second edition of a Bandwagoner's Guide I have already made, we will talk specifically about the drivers that are racing at the Texas Motor Speedway first, and then talk about some of the part-timers afterwards. I think that's the most fair way to do it and the way to inform you guys, the best, who may be tuning in to IndyCar racing for the first time, as what is just a fantastic announcement that IndyCar will get prime time television on the NBC network. And you might want to watch the pre-race. You might see a familiar face. It's exciting to get back to some sort of normalcy. Let's look at the drivers, cars, and teams that will not only race at Texas Motor Speedway, but will contest the rest of the IndyCar Series season for 2020. Joseph Newgarden drives for Team Penske and is looking to defend the one as the series' defending champion. He's also defending his victory at Texas Motor Speedway last year. Charlie Kimball gets a fresh start moving to AJ Foyt Racing and becomes a full-time competitor in the series once again. Pato O'Ward was impressive in just a few starts for Carlin Racing last year. The 2018 Indy Lights champion is looking to impress for McLaren SP. And joining O'Ward at the McLaren team is another rookie, Oliver Askew, but he also shares the same title that O'Ward does. He's the Indy Lights champion for 2019. Marcus Ericsson moves to the best car he's ever had in his career at Chip Ganassi Racing, and I think he is an incredible dark horse to watch this year as a race-winning contender. Scott Dixon is quite simply put the greatest of his generation. He's third on the all-time list behind only AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti, and he's looking to climb that list even further this year, and he's usually very fast at Texas Motor Speedway. Felix Rosenquist moves into his sophomore IndyCar season with high hopes. Once again, it's a Chip Ganassi car, and Felix is highly touted. It's hard to believe over 10 years ago was when Will Power made his debut for Team Penske. He's now the elder statesman of the team and is looking to use that experience to get his second IndyCar championship. Tony Kanaan returns for one final time in what he's describing as his farewell tour. Kanaan is making his 318th consecutive start in the series at Texas Motor Speedway and has some incredibly nostalgic colors for this weekend as once again, for the final time potentially, Kanaan dons the 7-Eleven green, orange, red, and white. Second-generation driver Graham Rahal is a previous winner at Texas Motor Speedway, but is looking to achieve some higher hopes this year. Both the Indianapolis 500 and the championship are in his radar. Santino Ferrucci had an impressive rookie campaign last year and is looking to build on that this season. Oval master Ed Carpenter once again returns to his own team to drive car number 20. He's also a previous winner here at Texas Motor Speedway. Joining Ed full-time at Ed Carpenter Racing is Rinus VeeKay, who is the runner-up in last year's Indy Lights Championship and is another highly touted rookie. It's going to be exciting to see how he gets on this year. Simon Pagenaud is the Indianapolis 500 winner for 2019. He's kind of become an oval master in the last couple of years, and I think he will run up front at Texas as well. Zach Veach enters his third season with Andretti Autosport, and you've got to expect that there will be some better results this year. It's without a doubt that Alexander Rossi is one of the most exciting drivers in the series. Hell, just look at his save, the incredible save that he had just last year at Texas Motor Speedway. He's still chasing the ever-elusive championship in this series, but you've got to expect it's coming very soon. The last couple of years have been fairly quiet for Ryan Hunter-Reay, but you've got to think that he's not going to be quiet for very long, and generally speaking, Hunter-Reay is sneaky fast. What a wild offseason it has been for James Hinchcliffe. He lost his ride with Arrow McLaren SP and eventually found a sponsor and team in Andretti Autosport. He's a partial season driver this year, but you've got to think if he has success early, they might be able to talk their sponsor and team into staying the course for the rest of the season. Takuma Sato was at times incredibly impressive last year, scoring 2 victories on the season and had a pole position at Texas Motor Speedway. Could Sato be a championship-winning driver, though? This year could tell the tale of whether or not that's a realistic possibility. Capping off an incredibly deep rookie class for 2020 is Alex Palou, who drives for Dale Coyne Racing and is highly touted coming out of the Super Formula ranks in Japan. He flew under some people's radar because of the obscurity of that series in this country, but he may be one of the surprises of this season. It's taken an incredibly long time, but Connor Daly is finally a full-time IndyCar driver. It's just going to be split between 3 different cars throughout the year. At Texas Motor Speedway and all non-Indy ovals, he'll be in the Carlin Racing number 59. For the road courses, he'll move over to the Ed Carpenter Racing number 20. And for the Indianapolis 500, he will be donning a special Chuck Yeager themed number 47, again for Ed Carpenter Racing. Jack Harvey is another driver who now has the opportunity of a lifetime. Meyer Shank Racing is now a full-time entry into the IndyCar Series, and they share technical support with Andretti Autosport. We saw what Colton Herta was able to do with that equipment last year, and you've got to think, after seeing some of Harvey's performances versus the Schmidt team, who they were sharing technical support with last year, Harvey may be a frontrunner more often than not this year. While he didn't win the Rookie of the Year honors last year, Colton Herta was certainly one of the most impressive drivers in the series, winning 2 races, and is in fact the most recent IndyCar winner some 8 months ago at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Herta dons a special paint scheme this weekend in honor of his team owner's father, Hank Steinbrenner, who tragically lost his life earlier this year. And rounding out the field for Texas is Marco Andretti, back once again. He's been in every IndyCar Series since 2006, but only has 2 wins to show for it. Is Marco Andretti, I feel like we ask this every year, going to show us the potential that he's always had? Is he going to fulfill on it, though? That's the question. Now let's take a look at some of the drivers that are expected to participate throughout the rest of the season. The number 31 car for Carlin Racing has been a little bit up in the air, but we're pretty sure that Felipe Nasr will take the lion's share of the races for this car this year. They specifically did not run Texas due to lack of oval experience, which was probably a smart decision. Expect to see them return at Indianapolis. Max Chilton will run the 59 car for Carlin Racing on the road courses, as well as attempt to qualify for the Indianapolis 500. Ben Hanley and Dragon Speed had ambitious plans for this year, expanding their partial season schedule, and in fact were on the grounds at St. Pete when that race was canceled. But unfortunately, with the global crisis, they've had to reduce their schedule to just the Indianapolis 500, and it's unclear whether Hanley will actually be in that car or not for that event. AJ Foyt Racing with the 14 car will split several drivers in between, including, of course, Tony Kanaan, but Dalton Kellett as well. Now, he's listed here as number 41 because he will be in a 3rd entry at this year's Indianapolis 500, while Sebastian Bourdais will tackle some of the road courses throughout the season. Another question mark on the season is the debut of Scott McLaughlin for Team Penske. He tested so brilliantly in preseason testing, but the pandemic has obviously thrown a wrench into those plans. He may not make his debut in IndyCar this year, but I think it's without a doubt that Scott McLaughlin will be a star of the future in the IndyCar Series. A driver at Team Penske who may be heading out the door is Helio Castroneves. This may be the last year he gets to try for his record-tying 4th Indianapolis 500 win, at least for the captain. Castroneves is back in his Pennzoil car, a fan favorite no doubt, and I think fans should appreciate Helio while we have him. Another team unfortunately hit by the pandemic is Dreyer and Reinbold Racing. They had expanded to a partial season schedule for the first time since 2013 for their little team, and were in attendance at St. Petersburg. Again, another team that kind of got screwed over by that race cancellation. They are planning on being at Indianapolis. We'll have to see where the rest of the races shake out for this little Indianapolis team. Spencer Pigot is still scheduled to take the 3rd Rahal Letterman Lanigan car for the Indianapolis 500, and we will be seeing him at least in the month of August, and if the original plans are anything to go by, we'll be seeing him in July at Indianapolis as well. Kyle Kaiser and Juncos Racing were one of the great stories of last year, and they're expected to return once again, pending sponsorship, of course. That's always the big key. But you would hope that after the incredible success story, the underdog story of last year, that we will see Juncos Racing attempt to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 once again. And yes, Fernando Alonso, he is coming back despite reports that a 3rd Arrow McLaren car is not happening for the rest of the season. The plan still is that Fernando Alonso will attempt to win his final jewel in the Triple Crown this year for Arrow McLaren SP. Now, unfortunately, again, another kind of ramification of the pandemic, drivers like Jimmy Johnson and Jenson Button were scheduled to participate in some races later on this season. Those plans, unfortunately, will have to be shelved now until 2021. If you want to talk left field, look no further than Top Gun Racing and RC Enerson. It was a team that was announced through iRacing, but they are intending on entering this year's Indianapolis 500. Further details of the program, though, have been sparse. It's going to be one that we're going to have to be watching closely to see if it happens. So there you go, a Bandwagoner's Guide to the 2020 IndyCar Series. Hopefully I never have to do 2 of these in one season again. Hopefully this will be the last one for this season, and we can finally get it underway, get racing back, and get back to normal, because I think so many of us in these trying, difficult times need a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out some of my live streams as well as my full in-depth review coming this weekend on IndyCar in Texas. It's back. We're getting back to the track. It's not as quick as I think some of us would have liked, but I cannot wait to be able to discuss all the goings-on with you guys. We'll see you in the next video.